sincere gratitude to Jake Riegelman, not only for his accomplishments of attaining the rank of Eagle Scout, but his unyielding dedication and passion to the Boy Scouts of America, and his wish Eagle Scout Benjamin Jake Riegelman the best in all of his future endeavors. Congratulations. He's not a politician, you can tell. Yeah. He's genuine. Would you like to say something?
I don't have anything to say. Just thank you for everything, everyone. Great, it's fine.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add that Councilman Yingstrom and I were at the Eagle Scout Award ceremony on Sunday and presented Jake with a certificate of achievement from the mayor. And it's always a great event. I've been to several, and so it was nice we're very happy to be there. And congratulations again. You are a really shining example of leadership.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the evening, or I'm sure you've got plenty of other things to do, but you're part of the family, so anytime whatever you want to do is fine with us. We also have another great presentation. It seems like today is actually Red Bank Public School Day, and a lot of the teachers and the assistant and members of the board, as I see here tonight, posted Senator Gopal and myself for most of the morning with an extraordinary presentation by the kids in their artistic program, their Broadway, Kids for Broadway program. They gave us a wonderful rendition of some great talent, Red Bank talent. And then both the senator and I had the opportunity to learn from the kids in some of the smaller classrooms, and we sat down and they taught both the senator and I quite a bit about what they do. And it's events like that I think showcase our municipality and showcase our wonderful public educational system. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful couple of hours that we spent. And afterwards, a number of the teachers, the senator and I, the administrators, had a roundtable discussion about a number of issues that affect not just the school system, but its place and its partnership with the borough, and also how we can both be better at advocating the greatness that our school really has. And the best ambassadors are the kids who are here tonight and their colleagues. So this evening, we are here to honor the Red Bank Middle School girls basketball team for their extraordinary achievement in another endeavor of our public school system, that is in the sports field. So I'm going to turn it over to our extraordinarily athletic councilperson, Councilman Yingstrom, to give us the background.
You too.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just saying, this side of the dance, the one that's about to pick up. My bet's on the girls. We're not challenging that.
So just as a little background, the Red Bank Middle School girls basketball team continued the Red Bank Middle School championship streak by taking the division title for the first time in 24 years. The girls finished the season, including playoff games, with a record of 12-2 in the Shore Athletic League and an overall record of 13-2. This was a Cinderella season for the Lady Rockets, who proved that you can never count out the underdog. The team of 14 6th through 8th grade girls worked hard to train and learn new skills. Over half the players were new to the game of basketball. Knowing that they had their hard work cut out for them, the team and coach committed to working 2-a-day daily practices. Additional training and support was provided to the girls team through a community partnership with Jersey Fusion Elite Trainers, and the Lady Rockets set a long-term goal to win the championship, but the focus was handling one game at a time. Throughout the winning season, the efforts, commitment, and dedication were led by 8th grade co-captains Tanea Morris and Mandy Zhang. A breakout performance was by 7th grade student Claudia The Wall Garcia. Her defense was coupled with Tasea Cooper's constant crashing of the boards. Bringing it all together was a suffocating defense of Lillian Woolley. By working together, these young women rose to victory and captured the hearts of the school and of the community. The strong season was helped by the Lady Rockets earned home court advantage for the playoff and championship games. The enthusiasm and pride for the team was evident as both games brought in a packed house. Special fan appearances were made by members of the Monmouth University basketball teams who served as role models for the Rockets, which is where I went to school as well. In the championship game, the Lady Rockets played their best to beat Henry Hudson 32-11. Coach Amy Cannell summed up the season by saying, "I'm so proud of how these girls came together to accomplish their goal. They played with heart, class, and passion, which is an unstoppable combination." In this Cinderella story, the Lady Rockets did not need a glass slipper to fit, but just had the basketball sneakers that fit. Now we just wanted to provide all the great girls with a certificate of achievement. So the mayor's going to read out the names, so when their name is called, please come up and get this.
He gives the hard part to me. So if I mispronounce your name, smack me. First one is Carrie Gonzalez.
Congratulations. Great job.
Relisa Jimenez.
Good job.
Congratulations. Tanya Morris. Lillian Woolley. Congratulations. Mandy Zhang. Tyasia Cooper. Claudia Garcia.
Good job.
Congratulations. Mary Linares. Stephanie Melado. Jocelyn Xochitl. Okay, good. Suni Castillo. Alexandra Sierra Garcia. Michaela Jackson. And Jessica Mendez Romero. Who else do we?
Manager, Kate Garcia.
Somehow we're short one, but you'll get it
Yeah.
tomorrow. We'll get it to you. Sorry about that. And also for the coach, Coach Camp. Right? Dr. Rummage? Not that I haven't heard enough from you today.
Everybody's heard enough from me. I just want to thank you, Mayor and Council, for recognizing our girls, for embracing our schools and acknowledging that we're such an important part of this community. I've said before everyone here, that we have this hashtag, Red Bank Borough, RBB is BIA, Red Bank Borough is best in America. And it's not about an award, because nobody's ever going to come and tell us that we're the best school district in the country, but it's about an attitude and a mindset, and it started with our staff. But the really transformational thing is it now has been taken over by our students, and these girls completely exemplify that, and they own their school, they own our culture, and they really are the Red Bank Borough Public Schools. Congratulations, girls, and thank you all.
All right, next we have a presentation of proclamation for Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month for March of 2018. I know that there are representatives here. Welcome. The proclamation, I'll give it a few seconds to come out. The proclamation with respect to the colorectal cancer month is as follows. Whereas colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States among men and women combined, but there is currently no cure. Whereas colorectal cancer affects men and women equally, whereas every 3 minutes someone is diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and every 10 minutes someone dies from colorectal cancer. Whereas only 39% of colorectal cancer patients have their cancer detected at an early stage. Whereas the survival rate of individuals who have early stage colorectal cancer is 90%, but it is only 10% when diagnosed after it has spread to other organs. Whereas the national goal established by the National Colorectal Cancer Roundtable is 80% of Americans ages 50 and older be screened by the year 2018. Whereas if the majority of people in the United States aged 50 or older were screened regularly for colorectal cancer, the death rate from this disease could plummet by up to 70%. Whereas African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans, American Indians, and Alaskan Natives are specifically less likely to be screened for colorectal cancer compared to Caucasians. And whereas it's critical that all people of all ages know these signs and symptoms of the disease, and whereas observing a colorectal cancer awareness month during the month of March would provide special opportunity to offer education of the importance of early detection and screening. Now therefore, I, Pasquale Mena, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby proclaim March 2018 as Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month in the Borough of Red Bank, and urge all residents over 50 to be screened for colorectal cancer. We have a whole group. Good. Come on up. Hi. How are you? How are you? Good. So, hi. How are you? Who is going to be the spokesman? Yeah. Bonnie here. Here we go.
Okay. So this is part of our family, Red Bank Castro, Dr. Wine, and his beautiful children, Una and Parker, Dr. Sundararajan, and Jackie Hare, our practice manager. My name is Nurse Bonnie, and we thank you so much for this proclamation. Colorectal cancer is the most preventable cancer, but the least prevented cancer. We want to make sure everybody knows that they can, easily be screened, and we can potentially even prevent the colon cancer. So we thank Mayor Mehta for bringing attention to this important matter, and the whole council. And we just want to say, if you remember when disco was when disco was king, and the Bee Gees was the air, I don't know, if you remember disco and the Bee Gees.
Zippers and I still dance to the Bee Gees.
That's what I was going to say. That means you need to get your colonoscopies. I don't know why I can't read. Remember when disco was king and the Bee Gees ruled the airwaves? Then you're probably 50 and old enough for a life-saving colonoscopy. So we have 8 wonderful doctors, and we have some information we can leave here about colorectal screening. And thank you very, very, very much. Thank you.
Just a question. The proclamation clearly identifies that there are groups in our society which have very high incidence of colorectal cancer, but unfortunately do not have the availability and the accessibility to the screening. Or is it information, or is it availability of resources? What can we do to help in getting, well, the message we can help in getting out, but what can we do to actually get people to do what they have to do, especially if it's a resource situation with what's happening with the healthcare industry in the United States right now?
It's a good question. It's probably a multifactorial. People who are embarrassed to think about or talk about what we do, which is, having to do with the butt, as the kids well know, and it's not something to be ashamed of, and it's something that we should all be out and talking about. If patients are uninsured or underinsured, we have programs that patients can get screened. Bonnie we work with the VNA, we work with uninsured patients, underinsured patients. My father's here who volunteers at the Parker Clinic here at Red Bank. There he is. So, inpatients don't have insurance here in Red Bank. We have wonderful facilities that patients can get everyone can get the same.
So your answer is that, the information is critical, or the availability of that information. So maybe we can put it up on our website also to encourage people to seek the professional advices, because there are programs.
Exactly. And we have a wonderful advocate in our office in Bonnie, who this is her life's work, is making sure that people are screened for this preventable disease. And if people have any trouble working through the system, our office is here.
She is persistent, I have
Yes.
to tell you.
And she'll see you at Food Town, she'll see you anywhere. She's going to make sure you got your colonoscopy.
At 10 o'clock at APME for me.
Yes. All right.
Okay, we'll be at Food Town tomorrow, 10 to 1. Thank you so
very
much.
Yeah.
Doctor, thank you for helping at Parker Clinic. All right, moving right along, we have the River Center budget presentation. Mr. Scavone, Mr. Catena, which one?
Thank you, Mayor. I did put at your chairs a short visual aid. Thank you. But I think we're all wondering if we're going to get a demo of that disco step after the meeting today.
I'm still booking, I can do it. Stay alive, yeah.
So this is our budget presentation for 2018. We are asking for a raise in the assessment. Mayor, every year I always start out with the same caveat, and I would like to give that again for members of the community who may be here or members of the press. And that is that the River Center budget does not come from taxpayer dollars. It is an assessment on the commercial properties in the district over and above their property taxes. So they pay their property taxes, and in addition, the Board of River Center levies the assessment that each commercial property will pay to make up our budget. In 2008, the assessment was $624,000. And in 2009, in the height of the economic crisis, the Board of River Center voted to lower the assessment to try to ease the burden that the businesses were experiencing with the financial crisis. So the assessment was lowered to $512,000. Since 2008 until this year, that assessment has remained flat. This year we are asking for an increase to $532,000, a little over, which is still far below that 2008 assessment that was originally levied on the properties. The main reason for the increase in assessment is due to an increase in programs that the business community has specifically asked River Center to engage in. Mainly, those are marketing and PR programs for Red Bank. We have heard over the past 2 years, really, from the business community that they would like River Center to step up their efforts in marketing and PR. And as we all know, those don't come at a cheap price. So the increase in assessment is going directly into the marketing budget for River Center. In addition, we have worked with some other funding. We raise additional funds, we move some budget items around. A couple things I'd like to point out. We are budgeted for an increase in hours for our sidewalk personnel who help us control litter. We have 2 part-time staff, so we've raised the hours for them a little bit to help us control the litter in downtown. And then we will continue with our other programs, chiefly our business recruitment program, in trying to attract viable and sustainable businesses into Red Bank, as well as infrastructure, holiday decorations, the flower program, and all those programs that we support. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I don't know if there's any questions.
Any council persons have any questions on what has been presented, and also the literature that has been provided with respect to the summary? If not, so this is an actual presentation, but I believe we have the resolution on approving the budget. So since it is a budgetary item, we normally would permit individuals who are interested in having a colloquy or questions regarding your proposed budget to avail themselves of the opportunity now. Anybody want to address the River Center budget or questions about it at this time? Mr. La Rotonda?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is.
I'll change it.
What's your name?
Good evening, Council and Mayor and Council. My name is Alberto La Rotunda, and I'm a resident of Red Bank at 242 Spring Street. I just have a general question, and actually my own personal observation about River Center, which I've confided with quite a few people over the years. And that is that I question whether River Center is necessary, period. The fact is that River Center, in my view, is basically a lobbying form of organization that represents business interests. And you have full-time people that are paid through the budget to do the River Center's work. We do not have full-time paid council people that represent the residents' interests. And so for that reason, I believe that there's an imbalance. So whenever we have an issue concerning parking or any other issue involving perhaps street cafes or anything like that, we have full-time, well, River Center has full-time paid staff that are out there banging doors and influencing people because they are paid to do that. However, if I was to go to any council person here and ask them to do the same amount of work that a River Center person does to talk about business interests for the town, they would not have the time to do it. They've got a regular full-time job. And so I really question whether River Center funding is needed and whether River Center is perhaps outdated. I've had a chance to look at the River Center tax returns over the years. The River Center tax returns are public information, Form 990PF or 990F. You can get them online very easily. And it specifically says in your mission statement that part of your mission is to provide ample parking to businesses. And so I believe that if this is, indeed, if I am reading the tax return correctly, that you already are predisposed to be pushing the idea of parking. And who do we have that is a council person or a mayor that is in that position to be doing that full time, to be pushing parking interests? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Scavone, do you wish to address it? It's basically a policy statement. Or Mr. Catania? Okay. Anybody else, Mr. Myers? And you are a member of River Center, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
I just want to make that sure.
Well, not so voluntarily, but I'm taxed. I'm charged money to be in River Center, and
You're one of the club.
yeah. And I have certain views on. One thing I'd like to bring up. I ended up cleaning up our sidewalk in front of the building today a couple times because of the wind, and there are a couple businesses nearby who've always got trash cans that are overflowing. There are dirty sidewalks. There are landlords who are not ever present on their own property, whose properties are frequently problematic. I will make reference, among other things, to a Monmouth Street property that is never shoveled after snowstorms. And over in front of one, it's got 3 stores. In front of one or the other, you will have for 24 to 48 hours after the snow is stopped, a clear sidewalk except in front of those stores. I've called up about it, and it's a problem. I would like to see our DPW people a little bit more involved, and I think perhaps somebody needs to look at the budget for Department of Public Works and see what some of these people are doing or not doing that could be addressing some of the maintenance of sidewalks that are cracking. I've been in touch with the mayor about Monmouth Street itself with regard to cracks in Monmouth Street that go during the winter and precipitate the destruction of the road because the water gets in, freezes, busts up the pavement, and then sooner or later we have to repave it. Private sectors and businesses, I've noticed, send people out, they maintain their roads, they maintain their sidewalks, and it looks better. There are a lot of spots with bricks that people could trip on, etc. And it gives Red Bank an appearance that no one is taking care of it. I noticed that today. It's just ironic that we're having this conversation. The other part of my concern has to do with parking. I have spoken to the council numerous times that the proposal of a monster project on White Street is both illegal and can be challenged in court, will not withstand a challenge in court if one of those proposals is in fact voted on and tried to be moved. We will invite litigation. I'm looking at certain items or episodes that have occurred with regard to, I think, something in the paper with Stanley Sickles and dealing with some of the borough employees. We've got enough litigation going on in Red Bank. I don't think we need to have more. The proposal for parking that we discussed that dovetails into the River Center was that we get some money from River Center, and I think it would serve the business interest. And I noticed that Steve from Cheese Cave is here, and he has been instrumental in trying to get some additional parking in town. And I have presented a standalone parking garage that is much more affordable than any project that I've seen proposed so far. And if part of River Center's budget was utilized to offset that cost of that parking garage, that could be making money for the town if the town ran it in a very short period of time. It would pay for itself. I understand also that Cindy Burnham's proposal a long time ago of moving the Red Bank Catholic permit parking over to the east side. I have heard a rumor, maybe I should be asking whether or not this is true, that we are in fact going to be doing that.
It's done. It's done.
Which I applaud, because when some of those kids get out, recently I had an episode where I tried to stop them from bouncing a kid around and not to jump up on their car after they got out of school. And they said, what are you trying to stop me for? I said, well, you guys shouldn't be acting rowdy in the parking lot. And he goes, but we are rowdy. And I was, I was sort of upset at the wisecrack coming from these kids. I'm glad they're being moved over. And that's something that probably should have been done a long time ago. But that is going to free up a lot of parking, I think, in the White Street lot. But I do believe that all this money that we put in, and if I'm going to keep putting in this money in the River Center, I want to see that money used for a standalone parking garage. And absolutely under no circumstances do we give away massive amounts of borough property and development rights to a developer in exchange for basically trinkets. And that's my concerns.
Thank you. Anybody else on the River Center budget? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing on the River Center budget? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion on Resolution 1862, a resolution approving the 2018 budget for the Special Improvement District as presented, and after the public hearing? The public hearing actually will be on April 11, 2018. So even though I entertained comments, I thought it was good because there were certain people here. But it gives people more of an opportunity to respond. So we're going to move to introduce the 2018 budget. The public hearing will be on April 11, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Motion? Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion to resume the regular order. Second. All in favor? Aye. Workshop, we have one item, which is the sidewalk cafe ordinance. Councilman Taylor, I think you're addressing that.
Yeah, I can lead off the discussion, Mayor. Thank you. Code Committee met and discussed this. This is an initiative that we started last year, and we're now trying to see it through as the April 1st deadline is approaching. The big issues were what we have currently, I should back up. What we have currently is a 2-season system. You can apply as a business owner for a permit for April 1st to October, and then there's a second opportunity for a winter permit, if you will, between October and April. Very few businesses, I think it's 3, Jim, 4, maybe 3, that take part in the winter seasonal permit. So, and we sometimes have nice weather, like we did randomly in February, where it was almost 70 degrees for a couple of days. So businesses want to be able to capitalize on those opportunities, and our current permit situation doesn't allow for them to be able to do so. So the discussion in Code Committee was to change the ordinance to allow for an annual license, an annual permit, and only have to pay one application fee. And there was some confusion, I think, that has now been clarified as to the square footage fee. I want to put everyone at ease. We are staying at the $4 fee, even though the draft ordinance that went out on the borough agenda was listed at $5. So that will hopefully calm everyone down. I also want to invite Jim and Steve, if you guys have any comments from the business community, to participate. But basically, this ordinance does change a few things. There are a few business types that were not previously included. We've amended to include 2 additional types. Frankly, we want more people to enjoy the outside and enjoy businesses in our town, and it's kind of silly to shortchange those particular types of businesses based on the way they're classified. So we have amended that as well. If anyone else on the dais has any questions or comments, again, Jim and Steve, feel free to jump in if you have any commentary. Thank you.
I just did want to point out one thing, that one aspect that we are adding is that if any outstanding permits are still out, any permit fees are still outstanding, that you won't be able to apply for your new permit until that's paid in full. So all permits from the year before have to be paid in full before you're able to get a new sidewalk permit.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. That's a good distinction. If anyone has any outstanding past due fees, they will not get a permit for this year until they pay that past due balance and the current balance.
Well, the clerk will not accept a permit for this year if there's any outstanding balance on last year. It's only fair.
And our code people will know who doesn't have a permit, so they will enforce.
We have a list,
So,
yeah.
Mark, are there penalties included in this?
Yeah, it's not
if
listed
they're in
because
arrears?
it didn't change. Pam, actually, we have basically standard penalty language.
Yeah, that
violation
hasn't
language.
been in there.
Yeah, so that hasn't changed, but there are penalties for violations, yes.
I just got this late this afternoon, but one of the issues that I've been very actively dealing with a citizens group that was set up at the beginning of the year in terms of the Shrewsbury Avenue corridor is that a lot of the businesses on Shrewsbury Avenue, which are not part of River Center, are looking forward to an expansion of the sidewalk cafe for establishments that do meet the criteria throughout the whole town, as long as they're not in a residential area. So that does that. So it does expand the parameters of the sidewalk dining ordinance that only dealt with the core business district in River Center. And I thought that that was not fair to others who are also looking to create an ambiance for their businesses, and many on Shrewsbury Avenue and Bridge Avenue are. So this would include that, this would expand it.
And I'd just like to jump in, because on the code committee, I think we discussed the $5 square foot, so this was a late change, and I'm not totally against it, but, and it's a small dollar amount, I agree, but that it will reduce the amount of revenue coming in from, for these cafes.
Correct.
And I'm not, for the sidewalk cafe.
The borough will stand to lose some money if the existing businesses that participate, all participate, and we don't attract any new businesses.
Okay.
I think to the mayor's point, this offers an expansion and an opportunity for additional businesses to participate. Hopefully, that borough will make up the gap.
Right, and that was my point, that hopefully more businesses would, come on board and take advantage so that the loss wouldn't be so impactful.
They were actually very excited about it on Shrewsbury Avenue.
And the one other thing I want to point out about this is, now that you will have the year-long sidewalk cafes, I just want to dispel any rumors that we don't allow any heating devices on the sidewalk. It just has to be done right. So we need, if anybody has any questions, any businesses, we can talk to Tommy Welsh, we can talk to Ken and Joe here, and Cliff, and we can square away exactly how you can get this done to put heating devices out there. And we're all for it. I think it would be a great addition for all the businesses and all the restaurants. We just have to do it right, and we'll just set up a meeting and we can go over how to get this done. So
That's a great point.
Eric, by getting it done right, I think what you would say is that we need to make sure that anybody that's applying for it is code compliant, fire code compliant, et cetera, et cetera. so
ADA
that we don't-
compliant.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously some of the sidewalk cafes, obviously the reason they're charged a fee in the first place is because they're using borough right-of-way property. They're using borough space. It's really no different than the arrangement we have with Calpisi. They're using our parking spaces, we get a fee for that. A lot of businesses have their own property, and where their property line ends, they can extend beyond that. That's the square footage that we're talking about. They also have to maintain a 60-inch wide passable walkway. So if you see anything that seems to be a violation, or if it's too narrow, just let our code people know, and we'll obviously go out and talk to the business owners about amending their perimeters.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly comment, everyone was just saying, I just wanted to obviously say good job by the code committee, River Center coming together on this. I mean, obviously some of these businesses that now for the first time be able to apply, to be able to use this, I'm sure would have liked to be given this the last few years, but I think it's a good example of showing how we're taking some of our ordinances and evolving to the changing business models. I mean, on Red Bank, business have changed, from retail to restaurant and everything, so to see, the committee up here and the council look at this and try to make it easier for the businesses, I think it's something great that we got to continue to look for. So well done, everybody, and thanks for everyone being patient.
And Mayor, just one other quick point. Michael just said about new businesses. The initial fee for new businesses is half price. So it's $2 per square foot. Then the renewal becomes $4 and going forward from there. it's an incentive for new businesses to
Yeah.
take advantage of this program.
Okay, so we're all on board with it. Approval of the minutes for February 24th, special session motion. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
February 28th, motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Mayoral appointments for Michael Paul Responti to the Environmental Commission for a 3-year term, Christina Bontakis to the Environmental Commission for a 3-year term, Roy Meyer to the Environmental Commission as alternate number 1 for an unexpired 2-year term, Nancy Facey Blackwood to the Environmental Commission as alternate 2 for an unexpired 2 years, and to the Green Team Subcommittee for an unexpired 1 year, and David Schmetterer to the Green Team Subcommittee of the Environmental Commission for an unexpired 1-year term. Motion to confirm?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Reports of mayor and council committee members. Michael, by the way, Michael, on behalf of all of us, and I know some of us had the ability to be with you, the funeral for your mom. The entire council expressed its condolences, and to you and your family, that the matriarch of the family, and as I said at the council meeting that night, you could see the joy in her eye on January 1st, your swearing in, how proud she was being able to be right there in the middle and hold the Bible with Rose and the rest of the family. So our condolences again.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to express my heartfelt thanks to you, Mayor, the council, the Red Bank family here, and the people who actually showed up. So thankful for that. Not that those who didn't show up didn't have me in their thoughts and minds, but wanted to say especially thank you to Mr. Kendra Roberts, Pamela Borgi, Eugenia Polos, and anybody? Charlie, yes, I'm sorry, Charlie Hoffman, who came to my mom's memorial service, and I'm eternally grateful that they showed up and shared their lessons with me. On to my report, Mayor. It's going to be short. We're still working on the budget. Toss a number around. Eugenia is working diligently around the clock, trying to get us best prepared to bring something forward, more robust presentation to the council and mayor on our next meeting on the 28th. So I look forward to that. Also, our BA search continues. We had a little setback going back a few weeks. We had interviews scheduled for Friday, and the storm hit. So we had to cancel those interviews, and seeing that we want the full council to be involved in this search, so everyone has their opinions heard. It's been a little difficult getting everybody together on top of the candidate. So we do have something scheduled for Sunday, this coming Sunday, to meet with 4 more candidates, I believe. Expect that search to be concluded within the next 2 weeks. That's it.
Thank you, Michael. Ed?
Thanks, Mayor. So I think to Mr. Meyer's point, we don't have full-time council people, but we do work on Sundays now too, Bill. Again, I was glad to be able to participate in Michael's mom's memorial service along with the mayor and Eric. It was a sort of a busy day, but we were glad to be able to be with you and the family. Your mom was a great lady. She raised a great son, and she was loved by the entire extended family. The mayor and I this morning started our day with Senator Gopal at the Red Bank Senior Center with Generation RX. Their team was talking about the opioid epidemic and safe medication practices for life. I'm sure everybody here at the borough wants to thank Ritesh Shah at Shrewsbury Avenue Pharmacy for bringing Cardinal Health team to town to help educate everyone about drug safety. Assemblyman Hotelling arrived and presented proclamations from the Senate and the State Assembly to the Generation RX team for their efforts to educate the total community, young and old alike, on safe medication practices. They do have a website. It's generationrx.org if anybody wants to check out safety measures. And I also wanted to thank the DPU team for their concerted efforts during the last nor'easter number 3 this year, and thank the OEM team for their preparedness as well. But I also wanted to especially thank Jim and Steve Catania and the entire River Center team for your budget presentation tonight. I know a lot of work went into that. And I wanted to thank you all for working so hard to attract new businesses to town and for doing the hard work to promote our long-term business community. And I wanted to say a special thank you to Mayor Mena for sitting down last Friday with me, Chairman Catania, and Director Scavone to talk about visioning and strategic planning for the business districts, looking at the future in a long-term perspective as we continue to go forward. Those types of collaborative conversations are what will really drive a true team concept between the CID and this municipal government. And lastly, Sunday, River Center put on the annual wedding walk. Jim, Laura, Eileen, Margaret Mass, your team effort to bring attention to the businesses throughout our town. I can't thank you enough. It was a great event. You guys have managed to keep Red Bank visible in the tri-state area. There were people from all over the place that came to this event. The weather was really terrific. It attracted a lot more folks to Red Bank, and it was an honor with you, and exciting to get to pick all of the winners' names out of the ticket tumbler that afternoon. And so I extend my congratulations to all the winners, and a special thank you to all of the businesses that participated in this ultra-successful event. It was really a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry I missed the wedding walk. I had another engagement, unfortunately, or fortunately. On Monday, the 5th of March, the Education, I'm way ahead. I'm hoping for spring. The Education Technology Committee met with our director, Matt Ryan, who's here this evening, and Councilman Taylor's on the committee, as well as Ed Zipprich. Ed was on vacation, but Mark was there. And we went over many issues. 2 I'd like to talk to you about tonight, and one is about a fiber network. We're working with the local schools to develop a fiber network throughout the town. Right now we have a small fiber network that connects the Borough Hall, Public Works, and the Senior Center. The schools are looking to develop a large fiber network through town that connects all of their locations. And we have the same needs. We're hoping that eventually it will be connecting everything, including the library, the parks, and other locations. We're hoping that we'll be able to share resources with the school on this project. This will not make our networks one and the same. We'll be utilizing the same cabling, but with different lines inside. This will also give us the capability, after the fiber installation, to provide live access to cameras at the schools for the police department and eventually to the parks. And I know that is something that has been of interest to you, Eric. So this is very exciting. We're moving forward, and I want to thank Matt for taking the lead on that. And we're also going to replace our antiquated phone system. What we'll be doing is migrating over to a voice-over IP solution, which means basically that you'll be making phone calls on the internet. If any of you have Skyped, it's the same principle. We're working with a group who will be able, they're investigating right now to help us assess how to save money, how to consolidate services and billing, and to give us a better look into how we're spending our money. So those are 2 things on the horizon that are in process. And for the library, I did get an email from the director who wanted me to mention that the 2nd annual Maker Day took place this past Saturday, March 10th. It is a statewide initiative with many libraries participating, and the library had many activities going on at once. Everything from button making, laminating, pancake flipping to podcasting and computer-controlled robots. But the favorite activity for certain children was the typewriter. Some had never seen one, and they especially like carbon paper. I'll tell you, I lived through it. I hate carbon paper. It was horrible. Probably not. So it's interesting. I remember my dentist telling me that one of his daughters came home and said that his daughter, that her teacher had brought in this very large black CD. It was a 75 RPM record that was very popular back in the 50s. So, well, I don't know, went back to the 30s, I guess. So it really depends upon your perspective, where you're coming from. And it makes certain of us feel very old. Also, Artsy Smartsy takes place this Saturday, March 17th, which is a fun children's program. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have my announcements will be very brief but pretty important. Next Wednesday, right here in the council chambers on March 21st, we'll have our first of 4 public input sessions regarding Marine Park. We want to fill this room with residents and anybody interested in Marine Park to listen to your feedback. We'll have 2 sessions. The first is 4:30 to 6 p.m. and then there'll be a break for dinner and then come back at 7 to 9 p.m. Tell all your friends we want as much public input as possible. The egg hunt will be Saturday, March 24th at Count Basie Field. It starts right at 2 p.m. sharp, so come early because those eggs are gone in about 2 minutes, so you better not be late. Also at our next meeting, the Red Bank Elks Lodge, number 233, will be presenting Red Bank Parks and Rec Department with a generous check as part of their youth services grant. And finally, regarding parking, the parking committee, we had a meeting last night. I'm glad to announce that we've added Steve Catania, the owner of Cheese Cave and the chairman of River Center, to that committee in order to bring in the perspective of a local business owner to get his ideas, and I'm really excited to have him as part of it. The parking study RFP applications are due by April 3rd, 2018 at 11 a.m. At this time, we've had 25 firms that have requested packages for the RFP. And we've discussed a lot of ideas last night and are looking into replacing and changing the meter heads to smart meter heads so people can use their cards rather than digging through their car for change. So that's something that we're looking into and we may be implementing sooner rather than later. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I'll be brief as well. I just want to also thank, Councilman Zippers thanked DPW and some of the other members of OEM for the storms. Also want to thank the police and the fire during the storms. Police obviously always do an amazing job keeping the town safe. But the volunteer firemen, I mean, we're all cozy at home, staying safe, and they're actually out there answering calls as volunteers going out there. So want to thank them. Have a quick update. I forgot to read the minutes from the last Human Relations meeting. So from David Pesco as the chairman of the Human Relations Committee. The Red Bank Human Relations Advisory Committee has corresponded 2 separate successful DACA clinics in Red Bank during the past 6 months with a total of 17 DACA renewal applications. This is a volunteer collaboration of multiple organizations that include free legal advice and free donated renewal fees for each applicant. We are proud to say Red Bank leads the way in numbers of submitted applicants, and this makes us proud. Secondly, I know Councilman Engstrom brought up Elks donating for Hunter. They also Elks donated to our other K9 unit, Echo, as well. So it's always good, different organizations helping each other for our Red Bank. And lastly, I know a few people came up and said that certain projects are like monstrosities, but I just wanted to comment on the town I work in really quickly, 30 seconds, Metuchen. I've been there for 4 years now, almost 4 years in Metuchen, and the entire downtown is 1 story, some 2 stories. So relatively half of our downtown when it comes to size. They brought in Woodmont, who actually is the ones who did the West Side Lofts at Red Bank, and they've built a pretty big parking garage, a lot of different apartments, really beautiful apartments that are similar to the architecture and engineering that we had come out for White Street. And what happened after they built a garage and apartments? Then Whole Foods came in. And then there's about 10 or 15 other businesses now that have completely transformed the town of Metuchen that was actually dying. And I say that because I've been there for 8 or 10 hours a day for 4 straight years. I mean, I've watched outside of my office window as an entire town with a vision who realizes they need a demand for apartments and new businesses and parking, how they've completely transformed the town based on something similar that we want to explore, which is apartments and parking. So just watching something happen that we're trying to do here from start to, I mean, from the groundbreaking to completion. The town hasn't gone crazy. It's not like I can't get to work because now there's congestion and there's cars all over and the town is ruined. It has only brought another energy and an amazing vibe and a new atmosphere to a town that's downtown was suffering. And like I said, it was only 1 or 2 stories, and they built almost double, 2.5 times, and it doesn't look out of place. So you can drive down a 1 to 2 story block, and all of a sudden there's a parking garage and apartments that are double the size, and no one thinks it's out of place. So just something for everyone to keep their eyes open. Projects like this are going on. It's not just Red Bank that is looking at this. This has happened successfully throughout Monmouth County and New Jersey, and I suggest anyone to go look and see actually the benefits that it does for downtown. So, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to also thank OEM Tommy especially, and some members of the building department, Fred Corcione and Kim, Ken Roberts and Cliff as well. We had some unforeseen issues in the building department as the storm was bearing down on Red Bank, and the guys in the whole team really kind of rose to the occasion. I'm really proud of everyone. Eventually got everything squared away. We're moving forward, and permits are going out, inspections are being done, so the department is functioning. And I'm really thankful to everyone who was able to make that happen. The Environmental Commission, Green Team, and Creative Team actually did not meet Tuesday as scheduled. We do have a work session scheduled for next Tuesday, the 27th. We are full steam ahead on Red Bank Earth Day Expo. I actually have, as promised, printed materials for you. There's a few other flyers on the desk if you'd like to take a look. It was April 21st from 12 to 4 p.m. right here in the Borough parking lot. There are all kinds of activities. We're going to have a bike rodeo. There's a community recycled art project, a trashing show, music, games, demonstrations, and more. Currently, we have sponsorships from Kitsch Organic, Cheesecake, thanks Steve, Passion Paint, and Boondocks. We're still accepting other sponsorships if other businesses would like to get involved and be part of that day. We have just about a month, a little over a month before that's going forward, so please contact myself or Kate Trigiano or Pat Pinto from the Environmental Commission. Another event that is going forward is Community Garden Cleanup Day. It's March 24th at our community garden over on Marion Street. We have volunteers from TCNJ, which we were awarded through a program that we applied for, and those volunteers will come help us work on the garden, work on the East Side Park as well. I think, Cliff, you have some projects for them to do over there, so that'll be March 24th. And there's another initiative that we noticed when we were going through the Sustainable Jersey. It's related to prescription pill collection. I reached out to Chief McConnell, and DEA already does a program, so we're going to piggyback on that, and that annually is April 24th. So that day we'll be going forward with collaboration with the Green Team. We'll also get some Sustainable Jersey points out of it, so it's an over and good for the community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? If not, let's move over to communications and petitions. They've been listed on MOS, so we don't have to go through all of them, but they've all been approved by the Special Events Committee and were subject to final approval with conditions. And so I would ask for a motion to adopt all of the requests for communications and petitions for events. They are contained on a list that is on the table for anybody who wants to see the motion. So moved. Second. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? There are a number of ordinances that are on for first appearance, as well as for resolutions that are either on consent or by individual listing. So, any members of the public wish to address the governing body on any ordinances or resolutions that are listed for this evening's meeting? Mr. Larrabee.
Right?
I'm sorry, sir?
It's the first?
Yeah, even at first, yeah, I think they're listed, so you can
The
address
final or
them.
that later?
I'm sorry?
The final will be after this?
Oh, yeah, if they're on for a first listing, it's just introduced. Mr. Larotonda?
Yes.
Yes, again, my name is Alberto La Rotunda of Red Bank, and I came to, amongst other things, make a few comments about a resolution regarding appropriating monies for Red Bank to participate in the electronic tax sale.
You got your letter out.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, very good. In general, from my understanding, I came upon this by accident because I have an ongoing dispute with the borough regarding a water bill involving repairs to a water main. water service line to my property. And as a result of this ongoing dispute, it's escalated to the point where it is being declared as a delinquent payment to the town. And as a result, because it's within the finance department, it became the knowledge of my mortgage company. So my mortgage company ended up paying a bill for me without my knowledge because they obtained information from the finance department that I had an overdue bill. So what is this all about? The Red Bank, from what I understand, is participating with this online website to sell tax liens on the internet, which is perhaps more efficient than the normal method. And the department, this is a process that has been unregulated by the state. There's only one company in the state that has this website, and it has been unregulated, and they've been calling it a pilot program for the last 5 years with no regulations to follow. So the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs had a number of complaints. They initiated an investigation, and I believe as a result of that investigation, which was about 2 years ago, they decided to create some regulations which took effect this year. Now, this resolution that the council, mayor and council has is basically, from what I've read, a boilerplate of all the previous resolutions and does not take into account the new regulations passed by the Department of Community Affairs. And I am recommending and actually strongly urging that the mayor and council reword their resolution so that Red Bank is going to follow the new regulations that have been established, even though it is their option, because these new regulations, actually the town doesn't have to follow until July. But why wait until July when you can set a good example? Because there are about 100 other municipalities that may be exempt to follow them right now. So that's the request that I've made through the letter I provided to the council, that you update your resolution and not just receive answers from the finance department, oh yeah, we're going to do that. No, that it should be in the resolution itself that you're being ordered to follow the new directive by the state government. Thank you.
Thank you, as usual, Mr. LaRotonda. Your research is always appreciated by us. After I received your letter today, I just spoke with the borough attorney, and it's my recommendation to the council that although we believe that the resolution before you is adequate, that so that we can review it once again, why don't we just table it? There's no urgency in us moving on it this evening, okay? Motion to table?
So this will have no impact on...
No, if we go ahead with it, we still have time to do that. So that's what I'm saying, there's no urgency. We can carry it to the next council meeting.
But there's no impact on how we go through the tax liens now?
No.
Okay.
And we could still, if the council decides to go ahead with the electronic tax lien sales, we would still be able to do it just by adopting it at the next council meeting. And again, there's a question that's been arisen. It's our understanding, it's my understanding that the resolution is sufficient for the needs of the DCA, but out of an abundance of question, let's take a look at it. There's no harm in doing that, okay?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so this will be tabled and relisted after we review it. All right, because of that, then the 18-65 is the parallel resolution to that. There has to be a motion to table 18-65. Motion? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Any other questions on any resolutions or ordinances on the agenda? If not, let's move on to ordinances. I'm sorry, sir. Come on up.
I'll be brief.
It's okay, I didn't see your hand.
No, my apologies. I should have raised it higher. My name is John Kalfas. I'm a resident of Tower Hill Avenue, and I'm responding to your resolution 1866, resolution urging the state of New Jersey to establish an RPS, a renewable energy standard. First, as a means of full disclosure and background, I have a deep background in renewable energy. I spent 10 years in the industry, sat on various committees at the state level and tax and and safety generating organizations.
Right.
Sorry?
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. With that, I agree with the resolution in its final determination that we should support an RPS standard in the state of New Jersey. That said, similar to the comments before, a lot of the premises in the resolution are specious, I would say, speculative. I don't think it's necessary. I think that we could support a renewable portfolio standard in the state of New Jersey just for the sake of good policy. However, a lot of the things that are supporting it in here are platforms that have been put out as a narrative to support going in that direction. And without taking more of the council's time, I'd be happy to go into that detail. But I have concerns with us supporting some of these things which seem to be speculative at best.
So what you're saying is that the preamble and the narrative has some questions that you have, but the finished product is the same. Okay.
Would you like to share with us some of these specious elements in the, I would be curious to know what they are.
Okay, if the council wants to entertain that, maybe I'll find some of the more specific ones. Affecting water treatment and snow removal can increase with climate change. I'm not sure how you think that.
You mean the paragraph that says, whereas the provisions of basic public services such as water treatment and snow removal can increase with climate change, right?
Right. I'm sorry. I was trying to be brief and paraphrase, but most of the ones on the first page, I would say, I could go into that. If we wanted to have a discussion as to why I believe that, I would happily entertain that. I don't know if this is the forum for that, but I thought that it was important to simply suggest that I agree with the council, with Red Bank moving forward with this. I think Red Bank could benefit in a lot of ways from taking initiatives that use renewable energy in the town, maybe with a thoughtful program, a community-based program. But the premises here, I think, are concerning, and if that was the basis for which Red Bank was going to support a renewable portfolio standard, I would think that'd be problematic to have that on the record. That's a big comment.
I mean, I see what you're saying in looking at some of these. They're conclusory, but do not impact the final resolution of the actual document before us. I mean, for example, some of it is common sense, like, the next one says, whereas resources for first responders can be strained when climate change-related extreme events arise. Well, that's a given, okay?
Yeah.
So, no, it doesn't, yeah. So, does anybody have any questions to sort of?
Yeah, but the whereas sections of
Yeah.
these don't really, I understand what you're saying, but the real gist of it is what the resolution says. And the fact is that we want to implement this renewable portfolio standard, and that's the only thing we're doing. The whereas is more just what we're looking at while we're doing this. It doesn't say that we definitively believe in all of the whereas statements. So it's really just the end game. Is it going to be the same?
I understand, Councilman, and again, I don't want to.
He's agreeing with our end.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is that the paragraph that the gentleman referenced and the paragraph right under that, they can basically do out because it doesn't have any impact.
Yeah, can we, is there a way that we can stick to the point? I mean, obviously the gentleman agrees with the principle of what we're trying to do, but can we take out some of the verbiage that?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that.
If the council prefers, I could offline edit this with what I think there might be some more compelling
That'd be good to
documents.
at least read. I mean, I just think it'd be foolish not to, given the fact that we just had Mr. Larotondo come up with pretty much the exact same principle, completely different resolution, but we're essentially taking something off the agenda to look back at something that this gentleman wanted, and then he comes up, we're not going to grant him the same courtesy. Would seem pretty ridiculous given the fact that they just spoke within 3 minutes of each other. So I think we should give him, table it. Why don't you give us back an edit? And then if you would like to do that, and then we can at least decide on both of them. Do we incorporate some of it? Do we incorporate none of it? But give him the same respect that we're giving Mr. Larotondo when it comes to looking at something.
I think we're talking about two different things, Michael, with all due respect.
I
He's
said
talking
they were
about
two different things.
verbiage in the whereas section where Mr. Larotondo was talking about an actual regulation that we should incorporate into our ordinance.
Right.
So to conflate the two is not.
Yeah, that's why in my opening sentence, I specifically said they had nothing to do with each other, but the fact I'm principal. So what you just said, I actually said in my opening sentence, so I don't know if you were confused by what I said, but yes, they are completely different when it comes to tax liens and renewable energy, but the principle of allowing this gentleman time to table something to look back at an ordinance and not this gentleman within 3 minutes of each other is something I have a problem with, and that's all I was trying to say.
You're
Let's
being
give them
courteous.
yeah.
But I have a question for Mark. Did this come from the EC? Are they the ones who?
No, and I was actually going to say, if we had the opportunity, I'd like the committee to, we have
How
several
do you-
subcommittees even that can even take a
Maybe the
motion.
clerk knows the answer to that.
Well, it was sent to all of us, but,
I can say that, I know we all received it, but the EC did not take a specific
Okay, so-
look at
So it
it.
should be
Had-
taken.
We,
had the
we,
EC
we
take a
probably
look at
would
it.
have it last night's meeting, but the meeting did not go, so that's,
Okay, motion to table.
so moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Table.
Can you
Thank you.
spell your last name for me?
John?
KALFUS.
Thank you.
Any other questions? On resolutions
Yes.
or ordinances? Come on.
Perhaps, it's really quick. Hello? Is the purpose of some of the...
I'm sorry, Mr. Ryan. Name and address, I'm sorry.
William Meyer, 12 Elm Street, Red Bank. Is the purpose for some of these resolutions you've been discussing to increase renewable energy in the private sector in Red Bank?
It's a general policy statement that it encourages both private and public institutions to focus on renewable energy as a general policy
All right,
statement.
then I'd just like to add one suggestion that I think we should consider. There are some municipalities that give little bonuses to people who do certain things with their architecture when they come forward with either a house renovation or a remodeling of a home or a building one from scratch. And one of the things we should consider is even if the company is not going to install, say, photovoltaic cells, that we ask them to design the roof structures so that they would be optimal for the placement of photovoltaic cells later by whoever occupies the premises or goes in there to establish a business. And you can also run conduit lines at the same time so that they can snake their wires in and it's a boom, boom, they put it in and it works great.
Thank you.
I can just comment on that too. We in the EC and in the code committee, we've addressed some green building guidelines, we've discussed it. We're working on updating our ordinances to be a little more reflective of that, a little less stick and a little more carrot, to encourage people to follow in kind of the green building mindset as we approach, new stuff and even remodels in town. So that is something that is on our radar. We are working with Glenn and with the EC to kind of develop some of those guidelines.
Thank you. Any other comments on resolutions or ordinances? If not, motion to close. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, first reading, ordinance 2018-07 is an ordinance amending chapter 596 of the Special Improvement District to include additional properties in the Special Improvement District and attach Exhibit A, which is the listing of the properties that have been corrected. There were some erratums in the previous ordinance, and this has been worked on by River Center and our borough attorney. It is on for introduction. Motion to introduce. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing, Pam, will be when? March 28, 6:30 p.m. is the public hearing. Copies of the ordinance are available to table. They will be on the website. Ordinance 2018-08, ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 562 regarding the sidewalk cafes and restaurants. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved as amended.
I'm sorry?
So moved as amended. The
As
draft
amended, of course.
incorrect.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing will be March 28th at 6:30 p.m. Ordinance 2018-09 is a bond ordinance amending and supplementing bond ordinance 2017-21, adopted on July 26, 2017, to increase the total appropriations from $600,000 to $825,000, to increase the total debt authorization from $600,000 to $825,000, and to amend and supplement other provisions of the original ordinance. Motion to
I do
introduce.
have a question.
Well, let's have a motion to introduce first.
So moved.
Second. Okay, discussion. Go ahead, Councilman.
I just wanted to know exactly, this is for the paving of East Bergen Place, is that correct?
Yeah, Laura's going to address that.
It's an increase in funding as it relates to the sanitary sewer improvement along East Bergen Way. When the project was originally scoped, we were aware that there was concrete getting, given the location.
Can't really hear.
Can't hear. Oh, can't hear.
Go ahead, Mike.
There's a mic.
Right there.
The other one, the other one.
Laura, just sit in the stand.
What's that? What's the stand? Where were you that night? Where was I the night of? It's an increase in the bond ordinance to cover sanitary sewer improvements in East Bergen Place. When the project was originally scoped, we thought we could replace the sanitary sewer in kind.
Laura, speak into the microphone. They can't hear.
However, it does need to be upsized. So that's one component, and more substantial is that the roadway has concrete decking underneath. So the concrete decking actually has to be removed in order to replace the sanitary sewer, upsize it, and then has to be poured back in place and doweled back to ensure the integrity of the roadway. So that's the result of the increase that you're seeing.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Kathy?
No, thank you. I
Any other
travel that road
questions to our
every day, so
engineer?
we do need something
If
there.
not, there's a motion and a second. All in favor to introduce?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing will be on March 28th at 6:30 PM. Lastly is ordinance 2018-10 is an ordinance awarding a 2-year lease with an optional 3-year extension to Jubilee Ice Cream LLC. That's a lot of ice cream. For concession rights to Riverside Gardens Park. Is there a motion to introduce? Second. Discussion. If not, all in favor? You're all so enthusiastic about ice cream. Jeez. If it was a liquor license, I'd you're a lot more excited. Okay, it's unanimously approved. Public hearing will be on March 28th. Public hearing and final adoption for ordinance now 2018-06, which is the fire department ordinance, an ordinance to amend and supplement the code of the Borough of Red Bank to revise Chapter 64 concerning the composition of the fire department. Any members of the public wish to address the governing body on the ordinance? Mr. Cohen.
Carl Comorgan, 67 Oakland Street. Ordinance 2018-06. My dad served 66 years as a member of Relief Engine Company. He had 4 brothers who served a total of 150 years at Relief Engine Company. One was a chief and also a founding member of the Red Bank First Aid Squad. My cousin served 55 years as a member. I neglect not saying my mother, who was a founding member of the Relief Engine Company's Lady Auxiliary. Myself, I served 6 years. It would have been longer, but my brother was returning from serving our country as a member of the United States Navy. There was no available openings in Relief, and I had moved to Little Silver, so I transferred. As time went on, my brother was looking forward that he'd be able to say someday that he was a 50-year member of Relief. The past 2 years have been kind of disturbing, sad, and annoying. Talk of abolishing the oldest engine company in the borough of Red Bank, taking their charter and abolishing them. I'm thankful for the people who have since stepped up to develop this ordinance to recognize Relief Engine Company for its value, a historic value, as the #1 thing. And if this ordinance is adopted tonight, which I think it should be, come April of 2019, my brother can then say he is a 50-year member of Relief Engine Company. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carl, Thank you, Carl, for your comments, as well as, most importantly, for your service. I happen to know some of the people you mentioned when I first became commissioner and chaplain, and this ordinance is the right ordinance to adopt at this time due to changing circumstances. Frankly, I wish we didn't have to even adopt the ordinance if we live in the same world that we did 20 years ago. But unfortunately, volunteerism is challenged at all factors. And we see it every day. So I think this ordinance is the right chemistry to be put together, and it accomplishes the goals. And I look forward to the 50th anniversary pinning of the medal on your brother who is here, and also other members of the family who have served. Any other comments?
Well, I think that should be enshrined in the Relief Company archives. Stu, you had mentioned that there would be memorabilia, and I think that's something that's very, very important.
If not, motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to adopt ordinance 2018-06.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. What's that? It's not finance. Resolutions by consent, unless there's only one left. That would be Resolution 18-63, authorizing the water and sewer refund due to an overpayment. Motion? Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Then we go to Resolution 1867, authorizing a change order number 2 relating to the contract with Sculpt Ice for the construction of well number 8 and SCADA improvements. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 1868, authorizing additional work by T&M related to the construction of well number 8 and SCADA improvements. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 1869, resolution appointing Frederick Porcione as acting construction official. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 1870, appointing Carrie Costa as acting fire subcode official. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1871, appointing James McCormick as acting electrical subcode official. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 1872, authorizing the transfer of current fund appropriation reserves. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Proclamations, there is one, I believe, in addition to the ones we had. Women's History Month, March 2018, whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, including Red Bank's own Catherine Elkis White, who served as its mayor from 51 to 56, chairwoman, the first chairwoman, I should add, of the New Jersey Highway Authority from 55 to 64, United States Ambassador to the Kingdom of Denmark from 64 to 68, and Emma Varela, a member of Westside Hose Company of the Red Bank Volunteer Fire Department, who joined in 1926 after the death of her husband and later received her fireman's exemption papers in 1936, making her the first recognized female firefighter in the state of New Jersey. And there is a plaque to Emma Burrell at Westside Hose Company outside of Westside Hose on Lake Avenue. And whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside the home, and whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions, and whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunities, such as Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, but also in the abolitionist and emancipation movements such as Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman, the industrial labor movements such as Mary Harris, Mother Jones, and Frances Perkins, the civil rights movements such as Greta King and Rosa Parks, the feminist movements such as Margaret Sanger, Betty Friedan, and Gloria Steinem, and other movements, especially the peace movement, such as Jane Addams and Eleanor Roosevelt, which create a more fair and just society for all. Whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of Borough of Red Bank that we recognize and honor and pay tribute to the amazing achievements of American women throughout our history, which have shaped, enriched, and enlightened our society. And we hereby enthusiastically proclaim March 2016 as Women's History Month. Okay. Payment of vouchers, which be it resolved by the Mayor and Council, the following bills be paid on the attached check registry total of $836,766.87. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Old business. Any new business? 20. Mr. LaRotonda, this is your night, my friend.
I have a document here which I'd like to distribute to everyone that's present. Thank you. Oh, I have 10 copies. First, I have
Thank you, Al.
council first.